Recently, there have been a rash of movies, and I say recently, I mean over like the last 100 years of Hollywood. A rash of movies that really make you ask a question: is justice real? I want you to think for a moment if you've seen any of these movies like Peppermint, which is now current on Netflix, or I Am Wrath with John Travolta, or Taken, or Rust Creek. The list goes on and on and on. And in just a moment, I'm going to tell you something that makes them all very much alike. And also something that, as leaders, impacts our daily life and our daily decisions. On a regular basis, we've got to be on guard for this challenge. Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. One of the challenges of leadership comes in what I call the balance of justice. Now, we also need to understand that justice and mercy are not the same thing. Justice is when you get what you deserve. Mercy is when you don't really get what you deserve, but even beyond that, maybe it moves from mercy where someone says, you deserve to be punched in the nose, but I'm going to let it slide this time. You really should be knocked off your feet for the stupid stuff coming out of your mouth, but I'm going to let it go. That would be mercy. Your wife holding it against you when you forget her birthday or anniversary or Valentine's Day, or the list goes on and on. Not being upset with you for days at a time. That would be mercy, not justice. Justice would be maybe you sleep in the car for a couple of days. But when we move from mercy on to grace, that's a different thing, because justice, you get what you deserve. Mercy allows you not to get what you deserve. But grace means you get something that you don't deserve. So there's the balance where the wife doesn't necessarily say, well, you forgot my birthday again, go sleep in the car. Instead says, but I didn't forget yours. You may have forgotten our anniversary. I didn't forget our anniversary. So not only am I not going to smack you for forgetting or even make you sleep in the car, but I bought you a gift instead. See, that's where grace becomes mercy, where justice, some might think, has been betrayed because what they deserved they didn't get. But instead, they got more, better, something else beyond what they deserved. Now, the commonality with these movies like I Am Wrath and Taken and Peppermint and Rust Creek, and the list goes on and on and on. Look some of these movies up if you're not sure what I'm talking about. Here's the primary theme in all of them, and even in a couple of the Fast and the Furious movies. If you're like a kind of a man's man, kind of a dude, you don't really like the questionable thrillers, but you want the pure action. Even The Longest Yard. The primary theme in all of them was that the people in charge, the people at the top, the people with the power to make the decision of whether you receive justice, mercy, or grace, were corrupt. See, in Peppermint, the woman basically lost her mind and was sent to an insane asylum after sitting in the court, and the men that she eyewitnessed killing her husband and daughter, the judge set them free. And then the judge remanded her to custody for accusing them in open court and saying, how can this not be them? And how can I'm looking at the people who did this? And then, of course, the entire movie is about her being a vigilante and coming back to get the justice that she deserved, that was taken from her by corrupt officials. Now, see, the same thing happened in I Am Wrath with John Travolta. He was robbed in a parking lot at an airport. And when he refused to hand over his money, they stabbed his wife to death. He eyewitnessed it. He ID'd them in the court. He ID'd them in the police lineup, and said that's the guy. But before he even got out of the police department, the same guy goes walking by and he says, what kind of justice is this? That's the man who killed my wife. I'm the eyewitness. How can this happen? Well, the truth of the matter is it happens every day. Every day, people are robbed. Every day, people are taken advantage of. Every day, things are stolen from people, and it may be a physical possession. It may be an emotional relationship. It may be their job. It may be their rights. taken from them, but because whoever took it, I mean, I think of Braga in all of the films of Fast and the Furious. Braga is this drug dealing cartel mastermind from south of the border in the movies. And Braga is the guy who is paying off the cops. He's hiding money in big, money shipments inside cars and all kinds of stuff. And then there's another one when they're in Brazil, I believe it is, where they're the actual big time money banker, dealer, drugs, all of the criminality. He actually puts the safe with all his money in the police department. Now, if that's not corruption, I don't know what is. But the idea that the local people, the simple people, the everyday people are being robbed of their rights to justice. Everything that they deserve is being taken from them. That is a notion that we're not unfamiliar with in our daily lives. We're not unfamiliar with in the movies. We're not unfamiliar with in politics. But as leaders, it is our responsibility to see to it that justice is called out. Sure, there's a place for mercy. There's a place to say, well, you didn't do the right thing, I'm going to let it slide. But not to completely ignore justice. And especially to ignore a justice, an injustice that has grave consequences. Just because our system might have some corruption in it, or be utterly and totally corrupt. Just because people have gotten away with it up to now doesn't mean we let it go. As leaders, our responsibility both in our communities and our circle of influences and our organizations and in our daily life. It's our responsibility as leaders to speak up and go, hang on, I saw that and I saw something unjust happening, and we need to, at minimum, we need to acknowledge that what just happened was unjust. And then we need to decide as a community how it will be adjudicated. Do we offer mercy because it was a mistake, or do we bring down the full weight of punishment because it was unjust and unfair and unexplainable? As leaders, if we don't get a handle on this idea of corruption, there's an old phrase that says power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's an incredible truth to that. And it's a dangerous truth. If we don't get a hold of it as leaders, we will lose the ability to influence. We'll lose the right to influence because trust will follow. When justice is gone, trust goes with it. You think I'm kidding? Just go back and watch any one of those movies where someone had to go out as a vigilante and get revenge on their own because the police wouldn't, the courts wouldn't, the system wouldn't. There was no justice for them unless they did it on their own. And again, if you think I'm kidding, just go back to the summer of 2020 and start looking through all the videos after George Floyd and ask yourself, where's the justice and what's it going to take to fix it? Justice is an important factor. And corruption may start at your local dog catcher, but it goes to the highest offices in the land, not only in our land, but around the world. As leaders, that's part of our role. Use the influence you have to call out injustice until justice is done or mercy is granted. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.